The Honourable Leader of the New Democratic Party.
Mr. Speaker, I will ignore the gratuitous and false mischaracterization of the NDP's record on long-term care by the Leader of the Conservative Party in order to continue this important line of questioning of the Premier. On this day of documents, I would like to table a different document. This is the report 9 months ago from the Nursing Homes Association of Nova Scotia, where they wrote about shared bedrooms in long-term care that, I quote, "This makes it difficult to maintain resident dignity and infection prevention," unquote. Mr. Speaker, today in our province there are 2,940 people in shared rooms, but the total number of new beds in this budget is just 236. Does the Premier understand that there are hundreds of people who are looking for greater dignity and better infection control in long-term care in our province who find the number 236 to be very disappointing?
The Honourable Premier.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And we are making investments across the board in long-term care and in home care so Nova Scotians can have that opportunity to stay at home when they can. But those 236 beds are needed in HRM. That adds to the 122 beds that are going in communities like New Waterford and Eskazoni and others in Cape Breton. There's beds going in other areas like Clare, Matagan area. We're going to continue to invest in long-term care. It's a priority across the country, quite frankly. There are conditions that have been exposed and illuminated through this pandemic in every single province, and this province is standing up and making investments. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Leader of the New Democratic Party.
Mr. Speaker, a respected nursing home administrator I know speaks about some of the shared room accommodations in the facility she looks after and says that when a place becomes available and the family of a prospective resident comes in advance to view that place, that on more than one occasion she has watched that family weeping as they've gone back down the hall. Well, there are 3,000 people living in shared rooms in long-term care in our province, and this budget provides for opening just somewhere in the range of less than a tenth of them. Does not the Premier not think that the government of Nova Scotia can do better than providing less than 1/10 of the housing needs of the waiting long-term care population of our province?
The Honourable Premier.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And for decades, our system has been set up to deal with acute care, and there hasn't been enough investment to deal with chronic care. Previous to our government, we inherited this issue. We started looking at investments right away. In every single budget, we've invested in home care increases, and in this budget, we're eclipsing $1 billion. Over $100 million increase, Mr. Speaker, is going into home care and long-term care, so the seniors are treated with dignity across the province, Mr. Speaker. That's an increase in operating, that's an increase in capital, and we're going to continue to make those important investments. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Leader of the New Democratic Party.
Speaker, there were very many wonderful words about long-term care 2 weeks ago in the throne speech. There were many wonderful words about long-term care delivered in the budget speech this afternoon. The Premier has offered a number of more wonderful words in response to my first two questions. We need more than wonderful words. What has actually been delivered, 236 beds over several years, and not one of them to have ground broken on them in the current calendar year, in comparison to the thousands of people who are looking for a single-room accommodation and looking to get into long-term care at all, is mighty small potatoes. Sometimes, Mr. Speaker, we're not looking for wonderful words on the menu, we're looking for a real meal on the plate. Will the Premier acknowledge that when it comes to new facility construction for long-term care in this budget, his government has failed to deliver?
The Honourable Premier.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and we continue to look at record amounts of infrastructure builds across the province, Mr. Speaker. We're redeveloping the QE2 redevelopment, over $1 billion investment in Halifax and in Cape Breton, Mr. Speaker. We've now announced 7 different rebuilds for long-term care, with more on the way, Mr. Speaker. We need to continue to look at the areas that need that investment the most. We have an analysis now underway looking at capital retrofits where needed, but it's not acceptable conditions in some of these aged facilities, and that's why we're taking action today. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.